So just wait for a second. Yeah. Now closer. Done. Cut the video. Up there. And then you can zoom in. Yeah, Maharaj, you're ready.
Hare Krishna, my dear devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tonight we're hearing from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text number 39. And this verse says, Etam me samsayam Krishna, chetum arhase ase sata, tvad anya samsayas yasya, cheta nahi upapadyate. And the English translation says, this is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Well, that's a fact. Krishna can destroy all doubts. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Krishna is the perfect knower of past, present, and future. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord said that all living entities existed individually in the past, they exist now in the present, and they continue to retain individual identity in the future, even after liberation from the material entanglement. So he has already cleared up the question of the future of the individual living entity. Yeah, the living entity is eternal. In the past, in the present, and the future. Now, Arjuna wants to know of the future of the unsuccessful transcendentalists. That's a valid question. No one is equal to or above Krishna, and certainly the so-called great sages and philosophers who are at the mercy of material nature cannot equal him, meaning Krishna. Therefore, the verdict of Krishna is the final and complete answer to all doubts, because he knows past, present, and future perfectly. But no one knows him, Krishna, and Krishna consciousness. Devotees alone can know what is what. Okay, that's giving a lot of responsibility to Krishna devotees. Text 40. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Partanai Vehas Namutra Vinasas Tasya Vidyate Nahikalyana Krit Kaschid Durgatim Tatagachati. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Prita, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil.
Tagline of our goodness cookies.
Yes, the one who does good is never. Yeah, I know. That's where I got it from.
It's a good phrase.
Six 640.
One who is good, one who does good, is never overcome by evil. Purport by His Divine Grace, Isi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17, Sri Narada Muni instructs Vyasadeva as follows. Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam harer Vajan abhakvo tapatet tato yadi Yatra kwa vibhadram agud amusyakim kovarta apto bhajatam swadharma taha. If someone gives up all material prospects and takes complete shelter of the Supreme Personality Godhead, there is no loss or degradation in any way. On the other hand, a non-devotee may fully engage in his occupational duties and yet not gain anything. For material prospects, there are many activities, both scriptural and customary. A transcendentalist is supposed to give up all material activities for the sake of spiritual advancement in life. Krishna consciousness. One may argue that by Krishna consciousness, one may attain the highest perfection if it is completed. But if one does not attain such a perfectional stage, then he loses both materially and spiritually. That's not true. And we're going to see now why. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one has to suffer the reaction for not executing prescribed duties. Therefore, one who fails to discharge transcendental activities properly becomes subjected to these reactions. The Bhagavatam assures the unsuccessful transcendentalist that there need be no worries. Haribol. Even though he may be subjected to the reaction for not perfectly executing prescribed duties, he is still not a loser because auspicious Krishna consciousness is never forgotten, and one who engaged will continue to be so even if he is lowborn in the next life. On the other hand, one who simply follows strictly the prescribed duties need not necessarily attain auspicious results if he is lacking in Krishna consciousness. So the special blessing of being engaged in Krishna consciousness is whatever you do for Krishna remains as a eternal asset. So if you only did 1% in this lifetime for Krishna, when you take birth again as a human being, you start from 2%. That means you can't be a loser in Krishna consciousness. You can be a loser in the casino, yes. You can lose everything. But in Krishna consciousness, whatever you do for Krishna becomes an eternal asset. That means that Krishna consciousness is organized to help everyone make spiritual progress. The purport may be understood as follows. Humanity may be divided into two sections, namely the regulated and the non-regulated. Those who are engaged simply in bestial sense gratifications without knowledge of their next life or spiritual salvation belong to the non-regulated section. And those who follow the principles of prescribed duties in the scriptures are classified amongst the regulated section. The non-regulated section, both civilized and non-civilized, educated and non-educated, strong and weak, are full of animal propensities. What's that mean? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Their activities are never auspicious. because while enjoying the animal propensities of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, they perpetually remain in material existence, which is always miserable. On the other hand, those who are regulated by scriptural injunctions and who thus rise gradually to Krishna consciousness certainly progress in life. Those who are following the path of auspiciousness can be divided into three sections, namely, one, the followers of scriptural rules and regulations who are enjoying material prosperity. Two, those who are trying to find ultimate liberation from material existence. And three, those who are devotees of Krishna consciousness. Those who are following the rules and regulations of the scriptures for material happiness may be further divided into two classes: those who are fruitive workers and those who desire no fruit for sense gratification. Those who are after fruitive results for sense gratification may be elevated to a higher standard of life, even to the higher planets. But still, because they are not free from material existence, meaning material desires, they are not following the truly auspicious path, even though they may be regulated. The only auspicious activities are those which lead one to liberation. Any activity which is not aimed at ultimate self-realization or liberation from the material bodily concept of life is not at all auspicious. Activity in Krishna consciousness is the only auspicious activity, and anyone who voluntarily accepts all bodily discomforts for the sake of making progress on the path of Krishna consciousness can be called a perfect transcendentalist under severe austerity. And because the Eightfold Yoga system is directed toward the ultimate realization of Krishna consciousness, such practice is also auspicious. And no one who is trying his best in this matter need fear degradation. Okay, so whether you're following the Eightfold system of yoga, which is not really recommended in Krishna consciousness, but some people want to do that, or if you're simply engaged in devotional service without any material objective, the only objective is to please Krishna and follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, then you are in the best position, because Krishna really likes devotees who have no material desires, but on the other hand, have many spiritual desires to please the Lord. He really likes devotees like that. Simply having no material desires, well, that's what Mayavadis tried to do, is to eliminate all material desires. But that's not really pleasurable to Krishna. But to give up material desires and replace them with pure desires to please Krishna, now you're talking. That is what Krishna is striving for, to have devotees like that. Okay. And because the Eightfold Yoga system is directed toward the ultimate realization of Krishna consciousness, such practice is also auspicious. And no one who is trying his best in this matter need fear degradation. We don't necessarily follow the Eightfold Yoga system, but we do follow the Bhakti Yoga system. What's the difference? Well, Bhakti Yoga means we engage in un, uh, unadulterated, pure devotional service. And the Eightfold Yoga System is a gradual step-by-step yoga practices to become purified. But in this age, it's very difficult to be successful in the Eightfold Yoga System. Why? Because it's boring. You're trying to, it's boring. And it's a singular thing. It's usually not done in a group. So ultimately, Krishna consciousness is the best. Take the best and leave the rest. That's our motto. Text 41. Prapya punya kritam lokam usitva saspati sama. Suchinam shimatam ihe yoga brasto vijayate. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The unsuccessful yogis are divided into two classes. One is fallen after very little progress, and one is fallen after long practice of yoga. The yogi who falls after a short period of practice goes to the higher planets, where pious living entities are allowed to enter. After prolonged life there, one is sent back again to this planet to take birth in the family of a righteous Brahmana Vaishnava or of aristocratic merchants. The real purpose of yoga practice is to achieve the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, as explained in the last verse of this chapter. But those who do not persevere to such an extent and who fail because of material allurements are allowed by the grace of the Lord to make full utilization of their material propensities. And after that, they are given opportunities to live prosperous lives in righteous or aristocratic families. Those who are born in such families may take advantage of the facilities and try to elevate themselves to full Krishna consciousness. Okay. Text number 42. Atava yoginam eva kule bhavati dimatam etad di durlabharataram loke janma idrasam. Or, if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is rare in this world. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Birth in a family of yogis or transcendentalists, those with great wisdom, is praised herein because the child born in such a family receives a spiritual impetus from the very beginning of his life. It is especially the case in the Acharya or Goswami families. Such families are very learned and devoted by tradition and training, and thus they become spiritual masters. In India, there are many such Acharya families, but they have now degenerated due to insufficient education and training. By the grace of the Lord, there are still families that foster transcendentalist generation after generation. It is certainly very fortunate to take birth in such families. Fortunately, both our spiritual master, Om Vishnupada Sri Sripad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja, and our humble self had the opportunity to take birth in such families by the grace of the Lord, and by the grace of the Lord, and both of us were trained in the devotional service of the Lord from the very beginning of our lives. Later on, we met by the order of the transcendental system. Very nice statement by Prabhupada. Text 43. Tatratam buddhi samyugam labhate purva dehikam yatate cha tato bhuya samsido kurunandana. On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. Yeah, see, Krishna consciousness, you can never be a loser. Whatever you do for Krishna in this lifetime, let's say you only do like 1% service for Krishna, in your next life, you get another human birth, and you begin from 2%. So you can't be a loser, because anything you do becomes an eternal asset. There's nobody else that can guarantee you that. Okay, so yeah, on taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. King Bharata, who took his third birth in the family of a good Brahmana, is an example of good birth for the revival of previous transcendental consciousness. King Bharata was the emperor of the world, and since his time, this planet has been known among the demigods as Bharat Varsa. Formerly, it was known as Lila Vitra Varsa. The emperor, at an early age, retired from for spiritual perfection, but failed to achieve success. In his next life, he took birth in the family of a good Brahmana and was known as Jada Bharata because he always remained secluded and did not talk to anyone. And later on, he was discovered as the greatest transcendentalist by King Rahugana. From his life, it is understood that transcendental endeavors or the practice of yoga never go in vain. There it is. Never go in vain. By the grace of the Lord, the transcendentalist gets repeated opportunities for complete perfection in Krishna consciousness. There it is. You can never be a loser in Krishna consciousness. But if you go to a casino, you can be a loser big time. Or if you associate with nonsense people, you're going to be a loser. But in Krishna consciousness, you can never be a loser. Even though you don't complete it in one lifetime, you start from where you stop in the next lifetime. And you're guaranteed a human birth in the next lifetime. Text 44. Purva abhyasena tenaiva priyate hi avaso pisa chikna sur api yogasya sabda brahmat tirvartate. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles. Oh, well, that's good. Even without seeking them, such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. Yeah, because one is not interested simply in rituals. Although rituals may be helpful somewhat, uh, but in the long term, one must go past just simply performing rituals. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Advanced yogis are not very much attracted to the rituals of the scriptures, but they automatically become attracted to the yoga principles, which can elevate them to complete Krishna consciousness, the highest yoga perfection. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7, such disregard of Vedic rituals by the advanced transcendentalists is explained as follows. Aho bhata swapako to gariyan yaj jiva gre vartate nama tubhyam tepus tapas te jahu bahu sasnur arya Ramanachur nama grinati yete. Oh my Lord, persons who chant the holy names of your Lordship are far, far advanced in spiritual life. Even if born in families of dog eaters. Wow. Such chanters have undoubtedly performed all kinds of austerities and sacrifices, bathed in all sacred places, and finished all scriptural studies. The famous example of this was presented by Lord Chaitanya, who accepted Thakur Haridas as one of his most important disciples. Although Thakur Haridasa happened to take his birth in a Muslim family, he was elevated to the post of Namacharya by Lord Chaitanya, meaning the Acharya of the holy name. Due to his rigidly attended principle of chanting 300,000 holy names of the Lord daily. Daily, 300,000. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And because he chanted the holy name of the Lord constantly, it is understood that in his previous life he must have passed through all the ritualistic methods of the Vedas, known as Sabda Brahma. Unless, therefore, one is purified, one cannot take to the principles of Krishna consciousness or become engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna. Unless, therefore, one is purified, one cannot take to the principles of Krishna consciousness or become engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna. Okay. So we are at the end. Are there any questions? Any questions from the outside people? Anybody?
No, Maharaj.
Okay. Well, our takeaway today is the following. Unless, therefore, one is purified, one cannot take to the principles of Krishna consciousness or become engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna. Yeah, we have to be purified. How do we become purified? We have to follow the regulative principles, Krishna consciousness, and always chant without failure. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
so regarding in material world, we find so many things alluring. Right? Like we get bored of one thing, then we go for something else like that. But it is like because we see it, so it is easier to go after certain things. But in for our spiritual path, we don't really see many tangible things which we could actually see to relate to or something like that. So maintain like how do we find that alluring spiritual life?
How do we what? What did you say?
Like as you said that there is the statement where you read, no, like in material world we find things alluring, it is attractive to us.
Yes.
How do we find that same similar attractiveness towards spiritual life? Does it come through only mercy or something which like I personally I would say, yeah, sometimes I feel very excited about spiritual path, sometimes I'm not. So how do I maintain that um, uh, that
Enthusiasm.
eagerness,
And the what?
the
Eagerness.
eagerness to continue in spiritual path?
You want to be an eager beaver. Well, if you are happy chanting Hare Krishna, just like now, every night, I'm gonna go tonight. Every night, I go to the temple. I get there by 8 o'clock, and we chant for at least an hour. Hare
Yes.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama.
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
And
Hare.
everybody has an instrument. I bought all these different things, shakers and drums and things. And everybody chants Hare Krishna. It's a wonderful thing to do before you go to sleep at night. So if you want to get that enthusiasm or that what you would call a boost, every night come like tonight, come to the temple. I'm gonna go now to the temple and by 8 o'clock.
I'm actually in temple parking lot. I was taking your class, so I was in parking lot, temple parking lot.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna be there by 8 o'clock, and we'll be chanting Hare Krishna, and everybody gets an instrument to play.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a shaker or this thing or that thing. I bought a whole bunch of those instruments. So it's fun. And it's a good thing to do before you go to sleep. So we have to have fun in Krishna consciousness. And the best fun is chanting, dancing, and feasting. So you come tonight.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. All glories to Srila
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll stop now. Gonna get ready to go to the temple. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy.